So guess what happened on Friday night? In the middle of a Category 4 hurricane making landfall in Texas, Donald Trump pardoned Joe Arpaio. Now, before we get into that, let's touch on the hurricane real fast. I mean, this thing is, wow. It is beyond disastrous. Category 4 hurricane made landfall. You had, on top of that, you have insane amounts of rain, and the coast got absolutely battered. And then now the rain is still going on. By some forecasts, it's supposed to keep going on until Thursday. Houston is like underwater. I mean, the pictures that are coming out of Houston, the before and afters, and just how much of a flood there is that's happening there now. It's unbelievable. And the National Weather Service was saying, look, we're in uncharted waters here. We're in uncharted territory. This is unprecedented, so we can't even tell you, beyond the things that are being experienced, we can't tell you what to expect because it's never been like this before. This is some next level shit. So my heart certainly goes out to everybody in Texas. I couldn't stop thinking about this last night. All the people who are losing their homes and who are suffering, and it's really scary stuff. So if you guys, I'm sure many of you have done it already, but if you want to donate to the Red Cross or whatever it is that helps with the cleanup efforts and with the emergency relief, that's certainly something that you should keep in mind. Now, as all this was going on, President Trump decided now's a good time to pardon Joe Arpaio. Now, they planned this in advance, don't get me wrong, not to coincide it with the hurricane making landfall, but they planned to do it on a Friday afternoon. Now, why do you do it on a Friday afternoon? Because that's when there's a lull in the news. People are paying less attention to the news on a Friday afternoon when they get out of work and, they want to relax or they got to go with the kids to the movies or whatever the case is. That's the old school Washington, D.C. sleazy trick. Save the big news for a Friday afternoon, and this way, by the time it has the most impact, people are not paying attention. And then by the time Monday rolls around, that's old news, so you don't cover it as much. So, sleazy old Washington, D.C. trick. They were probably happy, on top of the fact that they were dumping it on a Friday afternoon, that, hey, we get to coincide it with the natural disaster. So this is like, the second or third most important story of the day. Seb Gorka also resigned, meaning he got fired. Let's keep it real. Everybody who resigns from the Trump administration got fired. Seb Gorka is, of course, a guy who had neo-Nazi ties. But Bannon wasn't there to protect him. He's Bannon's boy, and so now he might go back to Breitbart. But Trump pardoned Joe Arpaio. Now, let me tell you, I'll give you their statement. And again, remember, this was released during a Category 4 hurricane making landfall in Texas. Today, President Donald J. Trump granted a presidential pardon to Joe Arpaio, former sheriff of Maricopa County, Arizona. Arpaio's life and career, which began at the age of 18 when he enlisted in the military after the outbreak of the Korean War, exemplifies selfless public service. After serving in the Army, Arpaio became a police officer in Washington, D.C. and Las Vegas, Nevada, I should say. They get mad at me when I say Nevada. And later served as a special agent for the Drug Enforcement Administration, formerly the Bureau of Narcotics. After 25 years of admirable service, Arpaio went on to lead the DEA's branch in Arizona. In 1992, the problems facing his community pulled Arpaio out of retirement to return to law enforcement. He ran and won a campaign to become sheriff of Maricopa County. Throughout his time as sheriff, Arpaio continued his life's work of protecting the public from the scourge of crime and illegal immigration. Sheriff Joe Arpaio is now 85 years old, and after more than 50 years of admirable service to our nation, he is worthy a candidate for presidential pardon. Okay, so that's their retelling of events. What's the reality? Well, why don't we go to the people who've been covering Joe Arpaio all this time? So this is from the Phoenix New Times, and I'll run through this tweet storm for you. They say, we've been covering Joe Arpaio for more than 20 years. Here's a couple things you should know about him. He ran a jail that he described as a concentration camp. Hot diggity damn. He described it as that. He did. It's not like Code Pink weighed in and said, that's a concentration. No, he's like, yeah, that's what I do. Prisoners there died at an alarming rate, often without explanation. One of his jailers nearly broke the neck of a paraplegic guy who had the temerity to ask for a catheter. One time, as a publicity stunt, he marched Latino prisoners into a segregated area with electric fencing. He arrested New Times reporters for covering him. We won a $3.75 million settlement for that one. Under him, the MCSO failed to investigate hundreds of sex abuse cases, many of which involved children. So, are you beginning to see what's going on here? Mr. Law and Order Joe Arpaio and Law and Order President Donald Trump turned a blind eye to sex abuse and arrested reporters who said negative things about him. That ain't law and order. That's authoritarianism. That's, I'm above the law, I get to do whatever I want, and I get to crack down on whoever I want. More. But he somehow found time and money to send a deputy to Hawaii to look for Barack Obama's birth certificate. Wow. So, as he's ignoring sex abuse, where he is, under his jurisdiction, he's sending deputies to go find Barack Obama's birth certificate in Hawaii. By the way, Obama released his short form birth certificate. People said that's not enough. Then he released his long form birth certificate. People said that's not enough. Then he went and got, from a Hawaiian newspaper, the announcement of his birth. They went to the Hawaiian newspaper archives to get the announcement of his birth. They go, that's not enough. Well, then there's nothing that's enough. And then Joe Arpaio sends people, oh, yeah, we have a forgery or something. And it's all nonsense. These guys are just old school racists who are obsessed with proving this idea that he's not American because, hey, Blackie can't be president because we don't like black people. Oh, shit, did we say that out loud? No, we didn't mean that. And by the way, have these guys ever said anything about the fact that Ted Cruz was born in Canada? Weird. And you know what if you point that out to them, you know what they say? Oh, that doesn't matter because his mother's American. So he came out of an American vagina, therefore he's American, doesn't matter where he was born. Funny, because that's the exact same situation that if your facts are correct, they're not, by the way, that would be the same thing for Obama. If indeed he was born in Kenya, he was still coming out of an American vagina, so by your own standards, he would be American. But no, notice how for the black Democrat, it's a different standard. So this is why Trump loves this guy. Can you imagine being being that obsessed with this issue? Unbelievable. Okay. Oh, by the way, you know who else was important in America? John McCain. In the fucking race in 2008, you had the people on the right going crazy, saying, oh my God, Obama, not born here, not born here, not born here. He was born in Hawaii. Meanwhile, John McCain, they're like, shh. Where was John McCain born? On a military base in Panama. So he's American. Nobody's questioning whether or not he's American, but he literally was not born in the United States. And somehow that gets a pass, but Obama, who was born in Hawaii, doesn't get a pass. It's almost like they're against him because he's a black Democrat. And that's enough for these old school racists to go, yeah, he can't be American because I don't like him. Okay, let me give you more. Oh, and he's one time staged an assassination attempt against himself. That was weird. By the way, you could read all these stories. They're posting links to all these stories. You can go check them out yourself. In 2013, a federal judge confirmed what literally everyone in Phoenix knew. He'd been racially profiling Latinos. So naturally, he hired a private investigator to investigate the judge and his wife. He also kept on profiling people, which is why he got charged with contempt of court and was found to be guilty as fuck. He also tried to destroy some of the hard drives containing material that was supposed to be turned over to the court. Wow. So, by the way, what happened again to the law and order, we believe in the Constitution people? Apparently you don't believe in the Constitution. He's racially profiling people. You know what that means? He's doing unreasonable searches and seizures of all Latinos. He's treating them all like they are undocumented immigrants with no evidence, just by the color of their skin. I don't know, dark enough, so we're going to do searches of you. So that's unconstitutional. You're taking away the Fourth Amendment rights of Americans. So what happened? The Constitution, love the Constitution. Second Amendment is not debatable. Is the Fourth Amendment not debatable too? This is a guy who doesn't believe in the Constitution. He doesn't believe in your protection from unreasonable search and seizure. If your skin tone is slightly darker, those rights don't mean anything. And then after he's caught profiling, he keeps doing it. And they go, what the fuck are you doing? Okay, so now it's time for this guy to get locked up. Let's destroy the evidence, though, to make sure that, they can't really break out the big guns against me. Oh, for Christ's sake. Investigate the judge. Unreal. What a thug this guy is. And destroy the hard drives containing evidence that was going to be turned over to the court. He also paid millions to settle lawsuits where deputies stood by as an inmate was brutally beaten. Law and order, except when, it's me having to abide by it, me and my deputies. And because this is the Old West or something, he had a sheriff's posse. One member got arrested on child porn charges. Okay, the list goes on and on. Here's the bottom line on Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Well-known, proven bigot, thug, and criminal. Criminal. These are the kinds of people where you give them power, they scream about law and order, but all they mean is law and order for you. For him, he thinks, I'm above the law. I am the law. He's like Alonzo from Training Day. He's the white racist version of Alonzo from Training Day. So, man, what a fucking scumbag. And this is why Trump loves him. Trump loves guys like this. Old school bigots who kind of wear it on their sleeve, scream about law and order when they act like the law does not apply to them. Because that's exactly what Trump is. Trump's an old school bigot who loves to torture. We need to bring back torture. Tremendous, believe me. We need to take out their families. We have to take out their families of terrorists. So, think about that, man. He's calling for violating the Constitution, protection from cruel and unusual punishment. He's calling for murdering civilians on purpose, violation of the Geneva Conventions, the Nuremberg Tribunals, international law. So, a guy like that, who screams about law and order as he violates the law, of course he's going to love a guy like Joe Arpaio. Same thing. Screams about law and order as he violates the law. So don't get it twisted. Don't be mealy-mouthed, none of that shit anymore. This is Donald Trump, yet again, proving, like when he said on the campaign trail, the Mexicans, they're criminals, they're rapists. I assume some are good people. This is him saying, yes, I am a bigot. And I'm totally comfortable with that. Because he was fucking convicted, found guilty of racially profiling Latinos. It's not, oh my goodness, what a misleading news report that incorrectly claims that he was, discriminating and racially profiling people. No, it was proven in a motherfucking court of law. Proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. And Trump said, that's my guy. So, yes, turns out the guy who said, we need a total and complete shutdown of Muslims coming into this country. Turns out the guy who said, they're criminals, they're rapists, I assume some are good people. Turns out the guy who said, we need nationwide stop and frisk. Even though all the facts on stop and frisk show what? Disproportionately targets minorities, and over 99% of the time, you get nothing from it. So all you do is take away the Fourth Amendment rights of minorities, and you have nothing to even show for it because it doesn't fucking work. Turns out the guy who wants that nationwide, a little bit of a bigot. Turns out, wild, I know. But he was convicted for racially profiling Latinos, among other crimes, the fucking zillion ones I just laid out for you. And Trump's like, yep, let's do it. Let's pardon him in the middle of a Category 4 hurricane making landfall in the United States. So you brush it under the rug and don't talk about it. Worst hurricane since Katrina to make landfall in the United States. Yeah, pardon the well-known racist, bigot, thug, criminal scumbag. Because he's on my team. Put this over here in the corner. But anyway, don't worry about that. I'm tremendous. I'm going to fix this hurricane, believe me. Absolutely disgusting.